Hey, this is a real quick demonstration of the iCitizen concept, and this is a very rough draft. I'm just letting a few people know about this, and so here we go. The main features of the iCitizen project will be that the fact that it secures video and audio evidence by streaming it, like other applications do. More importantly, it'll provide reach back to community in real time. What that means is you'll be able to contact an organization, a network of people based on people that you've put into your network manually on iCitizen, or based on an organization you've subscribed to and have been validated on, like the Peaceful Streets Project in Austin. The reach back will allow us to leverage a database on them of course being the cops. So the information from iCitizen will track LEO encounters, it'll track and isolate particular officers, and it'll have a track record. So you'll be able to know what's the officer you're dealing with. You know, what's their track record on violence and violating constitutional rights. The reach back harnessing a community allows us to actually reach out and touch the police officer or their supervisor in real time, which decreases the chance of violence. That's one strategy, but communities and organizations can actually tailor how they want to use the software for their own strategies. It'll help assist in finding media, witnesses, legal representation, people that can help after the fact. So when the thing is concluded, it'll all be archived on a website, and it'll be presented in such a way that will give people tools to find people who can help them in finding some accountability. And then finally, it'll provide statistics of LEO encounters. People say it's a few bad apples. Well, people who use this software, by having it go up to our website, it'll be able to archive all that information and also present it in a way that really shows the truth. All right, so we talked a little bit about strategy, and I'm going to talk a little bit about Boyd, Colonel John Boyd, and the OODA loop. Colonel John Boyd was a fighter pilot, and he was a tactician, a really smart man who came up with the OODA loop, which is Observe, Orient, Decide, Act. It's the loop that runs continuously in the minds of two or more adversaries. He used it for air-to-air combat, but it's also been something that's been adapted, and it fits quite well in other realms wherever there's a conflict or an adversary. Sports teams use it. Many other examples where the OODA loop has actually been used. You can see here this graphic. This graphic was actually taken from a law enforcement blog where law enforcement is using the OODA loop. The point is, we need to get inside their OODA loop. The simplest way is the fact that when we let them know that they're being watched and that there are people watching their actions, we are now inside their OODA loop. And they're going to orient to that, and they're going to make their decisions and act according to that. That's just one simple example. There's a strategy behind the iCitizen. Okay, so how does it really work? Well, let's say you're driving, or you're on the streets, and you see a law enforcement official who is about to get into your world. What do? First thing you do is launch the app. You can launch it from your iPad, your Droid, or your iPhone. When you do that, you're going to have a very simple screen that comes up. Two big buttons, the check mark and the X. If you press the X, it'll cancel. If you press the settings down there in the corner, that'll allow you to go into some settings. If you press the green check mark, that's going to do a couple of things. It's going to launch the process. We call that the alert. The first thing it'll do is it'll contact your remote iCitizen headquarters server. In other words, the website where you've already set up, hey, I am associated with Peaceful Streets Project, or I'm Tom, this is my account, and here are the people I've manually put into my list. Here are their emails, here are their cell phone numbers. It'll go into the iCitizenHQ.com server for your account, and it will automatically send emails and text messages to everybody in your network, letting them know, hey, something's going on. The other thing it automatically does is it starts recording video and audio and streaming that to the iCitizen HQ remote server so that it's secured. This is an example. We'll change the text there because this has got some utility outside of driving. But this is a kind of an example. The essential thing here is it contacts the people, email or text message, and lets them know, hey, something's going on with me. Watch my back. Here's a link to meet up in a chat room. Okay, these are just notes for me. It's one button push. That's all you've done. You've launched the app. You've pressed one button. There's no need to interface anymore with the software. You don't have to. You've automatically got your evidence being secured, and you've got people who are monitoring it, and they can take action. So all you have to do is talk to them. You get the officer's name. You mention the officer's name. You mention the officer's badge number in conversation with the police officer or the LEO, and that information is being passed to your network. So you might have 10, 20 or more people who are listening to what you're saying, and you'll see how they use that information. But as far as the officer is concerned, you're just talking to them. They don't see you interacting with any software or with your network. All right. People who are in your network are going to meet up in a chat room. What that'll do is it'll provide streaming audio and video so that everybody can monitor it. Okay. It also provides a list of useful information that the network, the people in your chat room, can fill in. Stuff like their badge number, stuff like the officer's name, who they work for, what the reason for you being pulled over or detained are, etc., etc. All that can be filled in by the network, so there's a nice truth source. It also helps organize tasks for people so that you can be more effective. If a person is the closest to you, the software will say, hey, you're the closest person to their location. Can you go and video? And if they can, they'll click something, they'll go video, and that information, that video feed will also be supplied to the chat room and also secured. So it's going to smartly look at who is in the chat room. It'll know who's a lawyer, for example, and who's not. And it'll try to help organize the effort so it's directed. The other thing it does is it provides data quickly, so it's going to be geared to just button clicks, making it so that people don't have to clickety-clack in the chat room to pass information. It'll make it as easy as possible for them to say, hey, I'm going to the scene. Hey, I will collect information. Hey, I will work on the media. All these things can be done quickly with a button click so that people can use their brain bytes most effectively, because it's all about speed, just like the OODA loop. And what John Boyd would say, it's about having a faster OODA loop. That means better information, processing it quicker. The software is going to be geared toward that. This is what the chat room would look like. It's very busy, and this is just a concept, and I'll talk about it. Up in the top left, now remember, this is a chat room, so these are people who, this is not the person who's dealing with a police officer. These are people who have gone into the chat room. They're going to see up in the top, they're going to see the alert time issued. When did the person hit the green check mark to initiate? You can see there it's 15:34. They'll see the audio or video player that's streaming. It'll be playing so they can listen and watch. There'll also be options so that they can rewind if they want, and also so they can mark portions of the video. Now going to the right there, you see the contact phrase code key. That's something that a person can set up in the iCitizen account. Basically, these are buzzwords. If people hear the person say golly gee in their verbal, then the person is saying, hey, contact the supervisor, contact people that'll get pressure on this person. Civil rights agency is a supervisor. If they say, oh my, that means contact the media. So you have these ways that a person can communicate with their network verbally without it necessarily, raising the suspicions of the police officer. Now, the contact phrase code, that's something that can be completely done away with or completely changed. It's all up to the individual using it and the community that's using it. To the right of that, you see the location, the Google map, that shows the location of where the alert came from, so people know where it's at. It also, the software will know where the location of the people coming into the chat room is, so it'll provide to them, hey, this is how far you are from the location, so people know who's closest to go record. Going down from that, you can see task assignments, and this can all be customized. On-scene filming, the information collector, who's going to contact the agencies, etc., etc. And you can see when a person clicks on something and volunteers to do that, everybody's updated. Highlighted in red is our tasks that nobody has decided to do yet. Nobody in this case has indicated that they're going to travel to the location and provide another source of camera footage. Nobody here is going to create a media blurb yet. These are things that can be done by anyone who volunteers. In the bottom right, you see click here for media contact information. Clicking that will bring up a list of media contact information for the person's location. Based on their Google location, it'll give local sources and contact information for media, and it'll also give national contact information for media. So if it's decided that, hey, we should go to the media right now, that makes it easy to do that. You can see in the bottom there it says, can you help? That software is going to know what task assignments have not been done, what can this person, based on what the software knows, what best can they do, and it will provide them some recommendations. And if they can do it, they'll click there and it'll update everybody in the task assignments. To the left of that is click here for agency contact information. Just like the media, it's going to know what's the contact information for law enforcement agencies based on the location of the incident. It'll provide all that information so people can quickly contact the supervisor or a civil rights agency or somebody who can then get appraised of the situation and contact that officer out in the field and let them know, hey, you're being watched right now, people are interested. Up from that, you see the information collection list. That's something that's also customizable. People can put in items of information that are useful when contacting the media or when talking to the supervisor. For example, they want to know who is the, what's the law enforcement agency, what's the officer's name, what's the badge number, is there a stated reason for a stop? If so, somebody can click on that and put in that information. So everybody who's coming into the chat room later can very quickly look over on the information collection list and they can see the essentials of what's going on. Alright, that's more notes for me. This is what the person in the car or in the front lines, talking to the law enforcement person, is going to see on their smart device. Now, this is all customizable. This is very busy. This is very cluttered. They can customize in their settings what they see and what they don't. Very quickly, the very top row, you've got some icons there. In the top left there, it says 2. That lets the person know how many people have joined their chat room. They know how many people are actually monitoring their situation. Now, they don't have to use any of this information. Again, it's a one-button push thing, but if they want to use it, they can use it, and it's been made to look pretty much, pretty nonchalant. The law enforcement person's not going to look at this and see anything and go, okay, there's something, I'm being monitored right now. In addition, the graphic that's in the middle, that can be customized. So you can put Angry Birds in there if you wanted to. And it makes it just look very much just like a regular application. Okay, to the right of the 2, you see a car. You see a car with the number 1 and a clock. That means there is a person who is 1 minute out from your destination. We'll talk more about the press extender application and how the software would know the person is actually en route to your destination and they're only 1 minute out. You can also see above that there's a little scales symbol. What that means is that at least one of the people who's en route is a lawyer. Okay. To the right of that you see news, and it has a 2 and a clock. Again, that means that there's a media organization that is en route to your location and they are 2 minutes out. Now that's going to be a guess, but that information is there. The YouTube thing, that means that some portion of your encounter has been uploaded to YouTube. If you were to click on the YouTube, it would bring up the video on YouTube. So if you wanted to show the officer, look, you're already on YouTube, this is already out there, you could do that if you wanted to. The Facebook icon to the right of that with the 5 means that 5 people in your chat room have shared your status, what's going on with you on Facebook. The icon to the right there, I need to change that, but that is supposed to be an indication that the officer's supervisor has been contacted. So the top row is your community contacting you, letting you know, okay, some information that might be useful when you're dealing with law enforcement. It's all situationally dependent. Okay, let's go to the far right side there. You can see a color spectrum and a check mark in the bottom there. Basically, that's the way for the individual to communicate with their network very quickly on what what the mood is of the stop. The lowest one there that's checked means everything's normal. It's a traffic stop. I got pulled over, but it's normal. maybe I was speeding, I knew I was speeding, whatever. But if you have some concern, then you might click yellow, and that lets everybody in the chat room know, okay, something's different. There's some cause for concern. If you go to orange, that means, okay, this guy is breaking the law. Something is really bad here. And of course, if you go to red, the very top, that means, it is desperate, like violence, something really bad is going to happen. So there's a spectrum to make it easy to communicate with your network. Okay, also communicating with your iCitizen personal network on the bottom row there. Okay, on the left side you've got the Google Maps. You can click that, and that'll bring up your speed information if you want it. It'll basically look at the last 5 minutes, and it'll analyze the speed limits for where you were driving. This is assuming you were driving, and it'll let you know were you speeding or not. That's of course assuming that the application had been running that whole time. The bubble to the right of that, if you click on that, if you have the time, that will actually put you in your chat room so that you can type to people if you want. It really doesn't make a whole lot of sense to do that because you're verbally talking and it's being streamed to your network, so you should just talk to them verbally. But if you want to see their responses, that's what that will be used for. You click on that, and then while you talk to them, so they can chat back to you, and you can see what's going on there. The Facebook icon to the right, if you click that, it lets people know, hey, I want you to share this on Facebook. The thing on the right there, that's the setting for audio and video. Probably not going to be all that useful because you're always going to want to stream audio and video. To the right of that, you have a media thing. If you click that, that lets everybody know, hey, I want you to share this, get the word out to the media. Again, all this stuff can be done verbally if you want. To the right of that is a courthouse-looking thing that lets them know that you want them to contact the supervisor or the government agencies responsible for civil rights or oversight or whatever, and that's what you press that for. And of course, to the right of that is a lawyer icon. If you click that, that's saying I want a lawyer to come out to my location. Now, you probably won't use any of these. It's all going to be verbal, and your network's already going to know. But these are options that people can use because things are going to be situationally dependent. And of course, that top row allows you to see quickly and unobtrusively what your network is doing. So that might prove useful. Okay, notes. The iCitizen extender, I'll talk about that. Okay, here's the iCitizen Press Extender application. This is a separate application. So let's say a friend of mine gets stopped and they initiate their alert. I get a text message or an email and I meet up in a chat room. And it says to me, hey, you're only 2 minutes away by foot. Can you go? I can say, okay, well, I got a camera. I got nothing to do. I can make it. So I would click on something and everybody would know that I'm en route. The next thing I would do is I would load up my iCitizen Press Extender application and I would put in a code that the chat room software would have told me, and I would just type that code in, and once I do, it links me to the chat room. So now I can still see the chat with the software, and any video or audio that I take with my phone is supplied to the same chat room. So now there's 2 video feeds that people in the chat room can see, and it's also archived for this event. You can see there in the bottom row, again, I can add information on the iCitizen extender. The map, that right there is the Google map. That's just driving directions to get me to the incident. So it makes it very quick. It knows where I'm at. It knows where they're at. That allows me to drive there very quickly. The chat one is just like we described before. The badge number icon there is if I want to, if I get the badge number, I can type that in. Again, you can, that's something that the person who initiated the alert would probably do verbally, but if you wanted to add that, you could do that, and it will add their badge number into the chat room, relatively quickly, so you're not in there chatting. And then the top row is basically just like what the person themselves sees. It lets you know if there's a lawyer en route, if a person's en route, etc., etc. So you have information there. Task management. Okay, so the third portion of it is the iCitizenHQ.com website. Okay, so we've already talked about the application, how it'll secure evidence. We've also talked about how you can use it to deflate violence. When the law enforcement officer knows, hey, somebody's watching me, that there's something different here. I'm getting a call from my supervisor. He's saying there's a bunch of people calling me right now. They know something's up. But they also know that the person that they're talking to in the car or wherever, they haven't done anything. I mean, as far as they can tell, they're just talking to them. It's not like they're on the phone, so that's good information. But the third thing that the website will do is after the encounter, whether it goes good or whether it's bad, whatever, the person who had the encounter can go in and they can update information on that encounter. Adding the police officer's information, gathering all that stuff that was gathered in the chat room, and they can publish that information. In addition to that, they can add things like, I would like a lawyer to contact me, or I am looking for witnesses to contact me with information, or I'm interested in talking to the media, stuff like that. And they can also rate the encounter. Was this police abuse? If so, they can give a rating to that police officer. They can provide all this information so that there's information out there on that encounter that somebody can just very quickly hover over and see. Now, someone who goes to the website, and this is anybody, this is lurkers all around the website, they're going to go to the website and they're going to see this encounters that are currently going on, just like this Google Map shows, and they can click on it and they can actually listen into the audio or the video. They're not going to be able to see the chat room, but they will be able to listen to the audio and video. The other thing they can do is they can look at archived events, and they can also look at the information that's we talked about earlier, which is whether they want a lawyer, whether there was abuse, what the rating is for the police officer, etc. All this information. Media can come here, lawyers can come here, and based on this, it can help them find work or find something interesting. The other thing is it will collect all this information and it will provide statistics on law enforcement based on that information. It'll also isolate particular law enforcement officers. Now, this is something I didn't talk about previously, but it makes more sense to talk about it here. Now, if somebody pulls somebody over and says, I'm pulling you over because I want to, and I don't need a reason, okay, they've just violated the Constitution. Now, that rating can be put in there. Now, the next person, once they've identified who the police officer is, the software will give them a rating of that police officer up on that top bar. It wasn't shown before, but it'll let them know what the track record of that police officer is. Are you dealing with a hothead criminal who breaks the law all the time? Is this a person who's pretty reasonable? That information will be provided to the person. So it allows us to track them and keep a database of them. They have databases they run on us, warrants or whatever. Okay, now we're going to keep a database on them. Are you a bad cop? And if so, we want everybody to know about it. In addition to that, this will also track politicians who are responsible for these these police officers, and it'll provide a flow chart and an indication of what is the political structure above a particular police department. How many reports of how much law enforcement abuse goes on, who is the people responsible, what have they done. It'll allow people to kind of keep track of their politicians as well. Now, it's also going to provide statistics. Is it just a few bad apples? Is it a lot of bad apples? Are they all bad? What cities are the worst, etc.? And it'll provide that data for people to see, and it'll also provide it to Cato's Police Misconduct Project. Now, the last thing, and this is an awesome thing, is this right here will allow a person who's not in your network to subscribe to a certain location. So they could click on Austin and put in 50 miles. If 50 miles inside of this, if an event goes down, if somebody initiates an alert, I want to get notified. And what that will allow is it will notify those people with the person's location, and they can then go out. It'll give them a code. So if they're using the Press Extender application, they can put that code in. They're not going to be able to see the chat rooms. They're not going to be in the network. But it will allow them to go video, and then that video will be supplied to the chat room and archived for the incident. So that's kind of a down and dirty of the iCitizen project. Again, I'm just going to send this out to a few people. I've got a lot more work to do on this before this goes even semi-public. But this is just an idea of how powerful the iCitizen project really is going to be. All right, see you.